Ah, there we are. We are live. I forgot to add myself to the stream. You can count on me for always making one or two errors in the electronic age. Let me know if you can see me. Let me know if you can see me. I appreciate it. Good evening. Good Sunday evening. I decided to come on here to talk about something that crossed my mind recently. I just wanted to talk a little bit about it. Have any of you ever been in the presence of a great person before they became great? You know, for example, like a Manny Pacquiao. Has anybody in here known Manny Pacquiao before he became a world champion many, many times over? So, because for some reason, I think you circle back and start thinking about events that have occurred in your life as you get older. You tend to circle back to where you began. You start thinking about all these experiences. And I just wanted to come in. I wanted to tell you about one that came to mind in a dream last night. I'm not sure exactly why I had the dream, but I just wanted to share it with you. Um, I think there's a lesson in here, and the lesson I think I'm going to tell you in advance. The lesson is never be satisfied with mediocrity. Never be satisfied with just being an average person. Always strive to do your best to improve yourself no matter what. Always strive to be better educated, to learn, to open and read a book, to become wealthy. Not because not because wealthy is such a cool place to be. It's the main reason so that you are able to provide all the things that you need for your family. I never ever want you to be satisfied with who you are today, but always be willing to strive to become better, better at earning money, better at educating yourself, better at raising a family, better at reading books. And so the reason why I thought about this, I thought about sharing it, is because people have tried to help me time and time again throughout my life, where I didn't necessarily reject it, but I simply did not take advantage of it. And so therefore I didn't learn certain lessons until later on in life, way later on in life. And so uh, there was a lot of pain and suffering in between those times that I learned the lesson, and then until I became the person I am today. A lot of things happened. And early on, I would say I was in my early 20s, I met somebody. I want to share this story with you. Yeah, I met someone who was a larger than life person. He was on the cusp of greatness at one point in his life. And it's for the most interesting reason. It's because he wanted to help and improve the life and condition of others. It wasn't so he could enhance, himself in terms of becoming a wealthier individual or something like that. That wasn't his main motivation. It was to it was uh, to help others who came after him become have an opportunity to improve themselves. So his main motivation was not about him reaching a status. That wasn't what was on his mind. What was on his mind is making sure the people that followed behind him had an opportunity to move forward and become and have an opportunity um, to prove themselves and become a better person, to have a better life, better opportunity to make money, and to be successful. And I want to tell you how this came to be. And I'm telling you that this is just one story of many, many that I have to share. It's just one story. Have you ever heard that? that fable or that joke, where God, why did you forsake me, when I was drowning? And then God says, what are you talking about? I sent you a boat. I sent you flying wings. I sent you a fishing pole. I sent you I sent you all this crap and you pushed all of it away. You see, and so if you think about it, even in the toughest times, because I am hearing a lot of stories that uh, a lot of you have offered to share with me, and I truly am appreciative of the fact that you would entrust me with some of the things that are going on in your life. I really, really appreciate that. Maybe that's where this is coming from. Maybe I'm thinking about it, and then I thought about my former friend. So here's how this came to be. So when I finally decided to turn my life around, I was in my early 20s. One of the things that I was going to do is I was going to go down to a college, a technical college that had a program I was interested in taking. And nothing I'd been trying before was working out really well. So I said, I'm going to park myself in school, probably a place I should have been a very, very long time ago. So I went down to a place called LA Trade Technical College. And some of you may know of this place because in that it's fairly famous in that it was featured as the place where John Ritter in the sitcom Three's Company was going to school, where he was learning how to become a chef. And so they had a chef training program there that was very, very well known. So thank you everybody for giving of your time. I know you got things to do on a Sunday night. You got to prepare for Monday. That's number one. A lot of you have things to do, kids to raise, and other things you have to do. Prepare for work, help your husband or your loved one prepare for work and such. So I really appreciate you being here. So in any event, how this goes is that so I enrolled in the program and they have you take all kinds of different tests, believe it or not, to see if you have the aptitude in order to do uh, this task or to be trained. And so I had to go do all kinds of different things, safety and how to use a knife and all kinds of aptitude tests, basic math. Could I run a spreadsheet? All these different things. So once I got through that, they said, yes, you're accepted to the program. I was thrilled, but then I realized, well, I've got no work. I've got no work. Now, this was a 5-day a week program. I had to find a job somewhere that I could work that was close by. And being in downtown Los Angeles, it's a big city. It was very foreign to me because I was from suburban Los Angeles, from the country, if you will, back then when if you were located 20 miles away from the downtown area, which is where this school is located, you were considered to be a flatlander, in the country. Howdy, ma'am. You didn't know what city life was all about. And that was certainly true um, for me, if it weren't for the fact that my dad was born and raised in some of the toughest streets of LA. And so I learned a lot from my dad simply because he was street smart. So I wasn't a total virgin as far as getting along with city kids, goes. I mean, a lot of you know that it can be quite intimidating once you leave the province and you decide that you're going to make your way to the city. So I started looking around. I go, well, where can I go where I can get in a few hours of work before school, and then also get in a few hours of work after school, so I can get as much work in possible. I started looking around, and I've always been a guy that's been attracted to anything round. A pizza, a donut, a tire, anything that's round. Round is my shape, and it makes kind of sense, right? Round is everlasting life, right? The arrow it could go any direction, and whatever direction it goes, it always ends up going in a circle, and so it's kind of interesting that it worked out that way for me. And so I ended up looking around. I said, and I didn't realize it at the time, I'm just able to articulate it to you now, being a little bit older, and understanding what happened to me. So started looking around. I see this place, General Tire Store, on the corner of the streets were Washington and Grand. And interestingly enough, what caught my attention more than anything else was that there was the Olympic Auditorium, the famous Olympic Auditorium where many a star boxer was born, was located right across the street from the corner of Washington and Grand, where this General Tire Store was. And my dad used to box in there. My dad used to box as a kid in there. It's what kept him from getting into trouble as a kid and getting involved in gangs, street gangs, and the like. So I thought to myself, well, that's interesting. I never knew that the school was in such close proximity to all the places that my dad had experienced as a youth, as a youngster. And they say that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Maybe I was genetically predisposed to be at that place. But one thing was certain, I was in the right place at the right time. So a lot of people don't remember General Tire because it's been a long time since they have been bought up by Continental Tires. And so I went to apply. There was a guy named Phil, and there was a general manager. Phil was a service manager. And I remember walking in there, and he said something like, hey, I went in there and I said, hey, my name's Dan. I'm looking for a job. And Phil looked over at me and says, everybody's looking for a job right now. What can you do? I said, I can sell anything round. And he looked around and he goes, what? I said, I could sell anything round. Donut, pizza, tires, anything round. And he looked at me and said, see that customer over there? See that person over there? They just came in and they're looking for 4 new tires. Now, over here on this desk over here, the service desk, there's a little flyer. Shows you what's on sale that'll get your foot in the door. He goes, you go over there and you do your best in order to sell them tires. If you're able to sell them tires, then I'll hire you. And I had already given him the 411, the information, if you will, on what my circumstance was. I needed money. I was going to go to work to support myself while going to school. And so I needed something that had a salary and a tiny bit of commission, would help. So what we ended up doing is, I ended up going over there, and it was a rather elderly couple, if you will. And I went up to them and I said, hey, I got some tires that I'd like to sell you. Yeah, well, that's good because we're here on tires. We can't afford much though. I said, well, I got this sales flyer right here. It shows everything that's on sale. We got these General Tire 30,000 mile tires, but lady, you own here. You drove in here in a Cadillac, and you wouldn't want to put the discount sale tires on that Cadillac, would you? You wouldn't take a beautiful vehicle like that and put cheap tires on it, would you? And she looked at me and she said, well, certainly not. I wouldn't do that. I said, well, we got to get you the best of the best. We got to get you here these General Steel tires, steel radials with all the bells and whistles that have a 50,000 mile guarantee. And I'll go over there and I'll work the service manager, Phil, for a little bit of a discount for you. We'll just call it the senior discount. And she was thrilled. She said, can you do that for me? I said, I will not only do it for you, I guarantee you that I will come back with money in my pocket for you in the form of a discount, or I'll pay for those damn tires myself. So I went over there and I said, Phil, they want to buy the General tires, the steel radios. I don't know what those are, but they want them. But they want a little bit of discount. And he looks at me like, what did you do? I said, well, you're not going to sell them the sale tire because they came wandering in here. They got this Cadillac. They got a classic Cadillac, by the way. Beautiful car. You're not going to let them, you're not going to let them roll out of here with bias plies, are you? And he looks around, he looks at me and he says, yeah, you have a point there. All right, I'll tell you what. Tell them I'll give them a 5% discount if they go with these tires, but they got to get them mounted and balanced, and they got to buy them today. So I went back there and I told them, I said, Phil agreed to give you 5%. And he said that you got to get them today. Otherwise, the deal is off the table. Will that be cash, charge, or check? And then the woman looked at me and she goes, "You got the deal for me?" I said, "I got the deal for you." And she goes, "We got cash today." I said, "Okay, we'll put those right on. Roll your car right over here in this bay, and we're going to put those on for you right now while you wait." And she goes, I'm thrilled. Let's do it." And then I ushered them over into the waiting room, and they had free coffee, a few other things. And so I said, "There you go. When do I start?" He says, "You start at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. Don't be late." So now I didn't have a car. The way I was getting downtown is I was traveling, taking the bus every morning, 20 miles from where I lived, all the way downtown. And this went on for the better part of 2 years. Now, a lot of people can't do this every time. I mean, a lot of people wouldn't do this, right? They wouldn't. But I figure, well, I'm going to be in school every day, or I'm going to be studying. I need to get downtown. I have to figure out a way to do it because I got no car, right? And that's how I started on my transportation journey. I'm going to figure this out. So back in those days, and today it's very difficult to get anywhere around LA without a car. As a matter of fact, in most major cities in the United States, it's very difficult to get around without a car. But I figured it out, and yeah, it took a little bit longer than taking by taking the bus, but it didn't last long once I figured everything out. Once I figured out what time I had to leave, and they had a special express bus that went straight from the bus stop where I live. That bus station, as a matter of fact, is still there today, all the way down to downtown Los Angeles, just a few blocks from where I had to go to school every morning and where I worked. So I'd get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and get ready, and then I'd zoom down to that bus station, and there we'd go down the express bus lane to downtown Los Angeles. And I did that for a couple of years while I went to school. And every morning I'd show up on time. I don't believe I was ever late. If I was late, it would only be by a minute or two. Nobody ever noticed me. They just, "Oh, Dan's here. Good. We get to make some money today." Because of course I was a selling fool. I'm going to sell those tires. So things went well. I was able to get in some days 2 or 3 hours. It depended on when school started. Some days I'd get there, I'd be able to get 2 or 3 hours in the morning in, and then I'd be able to get 2 or 3 hours in the afternoon in. And so I was doing great. I was almost working a full-time job, and so I was definitely making. Once the commission started rolling, I was definitely making enough money in order to make the whole thing work. And so I was very, very grateful. But so in the course of doing all this, I met a man who went by the nickname of Sporty. Right now, I should have figured out all this stuff on my own, but I was a pretty naive young man. Didn't know that, didn't make the connection that a guy whose name is Sporty, who's a tire buster in General Tire. That's what he was doing. He was busting tires, and he would give me a lot of fun, a lot of headaches sometimes. He would say to me, "Oh, you ain't nothing but one of them salespeople, one of them fancy salespeople. Look at the shoes that you're wearing." He would make fun of me. I was just like anybody else, but he would make fun of me. He'd come to work. He'd be wearing his uniform, his assigned overalls for that day. But I should have made the connection. The guy whose name is Sporty has got to be somebody who's been inside that Olympic auditorium. And I'm not talking about a spectator. I'm talking about a fighter, a boxer, right? But I never made the connection. It wasn't until later and he never boasted about being a heavyweight boxer. A former heavyweight boxer. He never brought it up. Not even once. He was the most humble, sweetest man that I ever met in my entire life to date. A very, very sweet man. And so I went in search of, I go, who is this guy Sporty? Because the guys would come up to me. Phil, one day, the service manager, came up to me and he says, "Hey, Dan, you know who that tire buster is over there?" I said, "No." He says, "Do you know anything about boxing history?" I said, "No, I don't follow the sport." He says, "Dan, Dan, you're looking at greatness over there." And I figured that I was. I was feeling it. I was feeling that I was in the presence of a very, very great man. And he was so gracious that he would teach me lessons about life, right? Little lessons, about how to be polite. Of course, I'm none of that. Don't be so rude. Compliment everybody. Always say have a nice day. Thank them for their time. I think I learned that from Sporty. But I want you to read. So here's the story, right? So a couple of years go by, and I'm leaving the job now, right? And they're throwing a little party for me, which I thought was nice, right? But I can't handle it. I couldn't handle the love in the room. I still can't handle it today. When people genuinely want to express themselves, "Oh, Dan, we're going to miss you," and all that other stuff. I just can't handle it. But so I grabbed that. I had grabbed that job. Most of you know this part of the story, where Dunkin' Donuts came recruiting one day, and they said, "Hey, Dan, we want to hire you." You know, that's a story for another day that involves great people. But so they hired me, and I went back to Boston. I went back to the East Coast for a while. But as part of the deal, right? As part of this deal, they had said you're gonna get in the first year, you get a trip home for free. You get to go back to home. We're going to pay for the flight and everything to make sure that we know that it's a very extensive 1 year training program. We know after about 6 months, you're going to start getting homesick. You want to go home and see your mom and your dad and your family. And so we're going to go ahead and pay for that. So now on this trip, this is what happened, right? I'll never forget it. It's something that I never will forget as long as I live. Especially because at that party, at that going away party, uh, Sporty had come up to me and he'd given me a great big hug. And he said, "Man, you really learned, and you taught me a few lessons, but I was able to teach you a few too. And we've had many, many people come through here and I was never able to reach them." He said, "It's been a pleasure," he said, "knowing you." And so I could see the little tear forming in his eye. I was thinking to myself, what a lovely, lovely man. But here's what ends up happening. I hope I could get through this story. So it's my time to go home to Los Angeles to visit my family from Boston. And I remember I was flying American Airlines. I remember that. Something like that, American Airlines. And so I'm flying back. And one of the flight attendant comes over and says, Mr. Dan, can I interest you in this is in the day where they used to hand out newspapers. Would you like a USA Today? And I go, "Yeah, absolutely. I'd love it." And so she handed me a USA Today. And I opened it up to the sports section. When I got to the sports section after reading all the front page and everything, you remember that maybe most of you don't know in the Philippines, USA Today used to be an abbreviated sort of paper that just went through the news stories really, really quickly. And so I'm sitting there going to the sports section. Whose picture do I see on the front? I see Sporty's picture. Sporty has passed away. And they were doing a tribute to him. And in the USA Today article, I mean, I was shocked. I was totally shocked because I didn't know his history. But there in the front page of the sports section was a memorial article for Sporty. His name was I.H. Sporty Harvey. Passed away a few days before I boarded that plane, and they were paying a tribute to him in the USA Today. I mean, it was a huge newspaper at the time, not so much anymore. And I thought to myself, who Who would ever grace the front page of the sports section of USA Today? And it so happens that he appeared in just about every large and small newspaper all across the country, with people saying, "We don't know what happened to Sporty." And of course, I'm screaming from my seat saying, "I know what happened to Sporty. I worked with the man. I worked with him. He was the tire buster at the General Tire store on the corner of Washington and Grant." So what made him so great? I'm going to tell you. Yeah, and I'm going to tell you what that is, I'm going to read you this story it's called My San Antonio. It's from San Antonio, Texas. I want to tell you, it's sort of a sad story. It's sort of sad. Last month, the San Antonio Sports Hall of Fame inducted its latest class of worthy figures who have a connection to our city. Once again, a most deserving recipient, African American boxer I.H. Sporty Harvey, was overlooked. The omission silences an important San Antonio-based contribution to the nation's civil rights struggle in general and to sports in particular. Mr. Harvey was responsible for no less than ending segregated professional boxing in our state and beyond. Holy smokes. Can you believe that? So I never thought about it. And then I realized, oh yeah, boxing used to be segregated. And he was the man who was able to sue to get rid of that segregation. Born in Runge, Harvey later moved to San Antonio and worked as a truck driver while building his career as a heavyweight fighter. He possessed only a sixth grade education. In 1953, with a record of just 5 wins in 21 matches and at a relatively advanced boxing age of 27. Yeah, when you compare that to Manny Pacquiao, though, back in the day, 27, you were done younger than that, right? You were done with the sports. He sought the assistance of local attorney Maury Maverick Jr. to challenge the state's ban on mixed race professional matches. The champions in all weight divisions were and always had been white, meaning that no black man could ever fight in a championship bout. Harvey and Maverick, along with a growing team of attorneys, decided to proceed in state court system and sue, even though federal courts likely offered a more sympathetic venue. After an initial loss in court, Harvey won an appeal in the Texas Court of Civil Appeals in October 1954, with the court striking down the ban as a violation of all African American boxers' constitutional rights to equal protection under the law. Maverick had argued that segregation interfered with Harvey's ability to earn a living. So he had a pretty smart attorney, knew how to approach it. While this final decision was influenced by the U.S. Supreme Court's anti-school segregation decision in Brown versus Board of Education that year, it was significant in its own right. The Brown decision did not definitely ban state-mandated segregation in all its incarnations, and without Harvey's suit, the integration of professional sports might have been further delayed. Wow. Are you getting how important this is? Importantly, in 1958, the state decision was cited as precedent by a federal court ruling on a similar ban still in place in Louisiana. Harvey finally got his match against Buddy Turman in Dallas. Now, if you're a boxing fan, you know who Buddy was, right? He got the match in 1955, but guess what? He lost. It would have been a greater story, a better story had he won. It would have been tremendous. Oh my gosh. It goes on to say that, but it was a decision. It was a decision bout. It was not a knockout. He went all the rounds. He made Thurman work for it. Harvey died in 1997 in Los Angeles. Was buried in San Antonio. Newspapers across the nation noted his passing, and Maverick reflected that many black athletes are making millions of dollars, and a lot of these are riding in this man's stirrups. Harvey's courageous and groundbreaking efforts are well known and recognized in the annals of boxing and civil rights history. And in 2001, Express News reporter Jamie Castillo wrote about the efforts to memorialize him in some way, such as naming a street after him in the Denver Heights neighborhood of San Antonio, where some of his earlier matches were held. In 2013, we nominated Mr. Harvey for the senior category in the San Antonio Sports Hall of Fame. We know that while he never had the word champion attached to his name, he should nevertheless be recognized as one of the greatest boxers in the state because of his trailblazing accomplishments. He was not selected. While his nomination was automatically reconsidered in 2014, he was also passed over that year as well. Sporty Harvey's determination and ambition ought to be well known in our community, just as the stories of other San Antonians who were minorities or women should be told year round and not just in February, March, and September when the USA celebrates Black women and Hispanic history months as observation months. Since 1995, 3 to 5 people or teams have been chosen for the induction, and each year, according to the following criteria, San Antonio's past and present who have made an impact on the world of sports, either through outstanding athletic achievements or through outstanding contributions to athletic programs. While it would be difficult to argue that Mr. Harvey was an outstanding boxer, his legacy to the world of sports and to our society is clearly of the highest order. It is past time to give this pioneer his due, and so let all San Antonios celebrate his extraordinary legacy to the sports world. And I agree. But it's a sad ending, right? Because they've yet to recognize him in the San Antonio Sports Hall of Fame for that one huge once in a lifetime accomplishment that was necessary during that period of time of the civil rights movement in the United States of America, where all are created and treated equally, except, I guess, when it comes to the San Antonio Hall of Fame. So you see, he was a humble individual. I never knew, of his legacy. And as I think back about it, as I think back in time, people tried to send me hints, to go get off your butt and go to the library and pull a few news articles and see what you can find. And so later, of course, in the USA article, they had said that they had heard that he was working as a tire buster somewhere in Los Angeles upon the time of his death. And so, yes, he was indeed, because I was working right alongside of him. I had the pleasure of working alongside of him for a couple of years, and I will never forget it. Never forget it. Not even after the day that I leave this world. I hope I get to see Sporty Harvey on the other side. And since then, as I reflect back on that, I start realizing that, wait a minute, this has happened time and time again to me, where I have been in the presence of greatness. It wasn't just Sporty Harvey, but I'm going to save those stories for another time. This name may not be so recognizable to you unless you Google it. If you Google it, I.H. Sporty Harvey, his name is definitely going to come up. But there are others whose names that you may recognize, or you're going to recognize their achievements. and then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna save those stories for another evening. But I'll be doing Sunday live streams every Sunday uh, about this time, 7 or 8 o'clock, because my algorithms, my analytics, and YouTube is telling me that I should be doing them. And so I hope that you found this to be interesting. And this is the reason why it bugs me when I see people put stuff on Facebook that says stuff like, be satisfied with who you are, be satisfied with the money you earn, just accept your life the way that it is. And I don't believe that. And I think I've sent that clear enough message to you. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. And now I realize I have never believed that. And don't let anybody try to convince you. The poorest people in the world and the ones with the fewest achievement are going to focus in stories like they're going to focus in on those type of sayings by getting you to accept that just being mediocre, just rising to level and accepting your mediocrity in life is okay. And so avoid those people. I've told you that I try and get them out of my life as quickly as possible. And since you guys are all you guys are climbing the ladder of success right now. You're all high achievers as far as I'm concerned. That's hopefully what we have in common. And that's hopefully one of the reasons that you attend the live streams once in a while to listen to what I have to say. But maybe not. Maybe it's just for the money. But it's okay if it's just for the money. I'm okay with that. I'm the one giving it away. Anyway, hey, there's going to be an exciting video coming up. I learned something new today about something going on in our neighborhood. And so I will share that with you in the next video. Once again, I want to thank you for your time. And I also want to thank everybody for sharing their interesting things that are going on in their lives. I am interested in it. I think about it. I pray about it, and then I realize that, you guys are super achievers. You really are. And so don't accept mediocrity. Do not accept mediocrity because most of you in here, you're high achievers, and that's the reason why I'm hanging around with you. So I want to talk one couple of minutes about something else. It's a very difficult transition, when a cultural shock, if you will, when you're moving someone when you scoop in here like you're some kind of Superman, marry a Filipina, and then whisk her away to, a strange planet, a strange world. In this case, Minnie into the United States. But she was culturally predisposed to success, to being successful in that environment, because she wasn't there but a couple of days, and she started plugging herself into the things that she realized she needed to do in order to make money and make her machine go, and that was within a couple of days of getting the lay of the land, if you will, in the United States. She set goals for herself for making money, and she had me running because she was on fire. I just want to tell you one thing, right? One of the things she does, she goes out and plants a garden. And once the harvest came, she started not only giving away the food to those in need, but her Filipino friends came knocking, her Filipino friends, saying they wanted to buy it. You see, because it was so beautiful. And so thing is, this thing snowballed. And so although Ma'am Minnie didn't have a regular hourly paying job, she was making money, and it kept growing every month. From the first month that she was transplanted from the Philippines to the United States. Yeah, there were things that she struggled with in the United States. There certainly was. There were things about the culture that they would smack someone in the face. They would just say, oh, this is just really strange. But there was a point in time where she started making lumpia, and she would make me a batch, and then she would say, take that to work and start taking orders. I said, okay, what should I be charged? And she'd tell me. And then lumpia Shanghai. I'd be going to work, and I got so friggin' busy taking orders for her at work that we had to stop it because I was spending more time taking orders for lumpia at work than I was actually working. And it was heartbreaking to have to go back and tell her, we gotta come up with something else, because because why everything is going so great? I have all this money in my pocket, right? It's because it's catching the attention of the authorities. My boss is starting to look at me, and she's giving me the quizzical Dan look, or she's giving me the stink eye once in a while. So what are you doing spending so much time running around with that order pad when I need you to be over here doing this work? So you see, there's something special about this culture and Filipinos for which the world has discovered and for which they cannot do without, right? And so remember that you have those talents and those skills that your mom or your parents taught you are the marketing skills that are going to that you're going to be able to take advantage of to elevate yourself, your lifestyle, and to raise your families. Never forget that you're amazing. Never forget that. You see, don't let anybody on Facebook or anywhere else tell you how mediocre you are, and you should simply accept the way things are. I'm not that kind of a person at all. I wouldn't expect anybody that comes in here is that kind of a person either. And I have idea after idea after idea, and it will shock you when I start putting them to work for the purpose of making money. Yes, indeed. Dan is not done. I'm not going to sit. Retirement is only a word. Age is only a number. I'm not just going to sit here and vegetate. I've had fun so far, but I haven't been vegging out. I've been planning the next chapter. I've been planning the next chapter in our lives, right? And so, some of it involves making money. Some of it involves making lots of money. So should I be ashamed? Because I like money? Don't let anybody tell you that. Do not. That's God's gift to you, just like every other gift. Don't let anybody hold you back no matter what. That's their sorry state of affairs. You know what? That's their life. And of course, because we live in an all-loving universe, God is going to give you whatever you ask for. So if you ask for mediocrity you shall have. See, so don't get stuck. Don't get stuck by just asking for dream big and then ask for it and then live it as though you have received it. That's how this world works. That is, in my opinion, as an adult, has never failed me. I wish I would have learned the lesson earlier, and I wish that I would have had the opportunity to tell Sporty Harvey how important he was in my life. But I'm sure that I'm going to get the chance. I'm sure there's a reason why I dreamt about this, and I'm sure there's a reason why I came on tonight to share it with you. All right, everybody, there's only a few more days left. I've received quite a few more entries into the Christmas contest. All I want for Christmas is, and some of the things that you're some of them are fun and some of them are serious, and so I was kind of expecting that because life, it sometimes, it throws you curveballs, and you have to figure out, how to hit that curveball out of the park. Baseball sort of analogy. And so I full well expect that you will overcome whatever you're going through, and life is going to turn out absolutely fantastic, absolutely great. One final thought before I leave, and that was that I remember many, many times Minnie coming to me and she'd say, Dan, she says, I prayed for you. She said, I prayed for you. All right, everyone. Have a nice rest of your day or the rest of your evening. And I will see you in the next live stream. Take care. And you know what? Take care and God bless you.